Today, the Grand Studio Tour. Hi, I'm Marcus and I play the shakuhachi and taiko and shinobue and synthesizers and I do music production. So this is usually what I see when I make the videos for you guys. Camera up there, microphone here, and my desk over here. This is the first big area of my studio. Then we have practicing shakuhachi stuff there. On the other side is what you usually see, which are all my synthesizers. And then there's really just some more storage. And that's pretty much it. So let's look at all these areas in a bit more detail. So this is the main camera that I'm using for filming my YouTube videos. It's a Canon camera, as you can see. And then for the secondary camera, I usually just use my iPhone, which is the camera that I'm using here as well. And then the next thing, this is a clone of a Neumann U87 microphone, a DIY build. I think it sounds quite nice, especially for spoken voice. I'm not so sure it works very well with shakuhachi, but I think most people find the same thing, even with the original Neumann microphones. Then the next important thing are my studio monitors, which I use for listening to music and to my own productions. And I have a subwoofer here as well, as you can see. The monitors are Focal shaped 50s, so they're not really very big monitors, but they do a really fine job and I like the sound very much. You can see that this material here is a bit unusual and this gives the monitors a really nice sound for me personally because I'm quite sensitive to very high frequencies. So this works very well for me. As a subwoofer, it's an Eve Audio sub and that is quite a nice complement to the focals. Then monitor, nothing special about the monitor. As you can see, I'm running Logic Pro. I'm happily living in the Apple ecosystem. I have no problems with that. It works all quite nicely, at least better than the other experiences that I have with computer hardware. So I'm quite happy with that. Here, these two things are door controllers. So this is not a mixing desk. This is just basically a fancy remote control for the Logic Pro software. So if I turn a fader here, then this will be reflected in the faders up here. I'm not going to do that at the moment because I'm actually recording with my computer, so that might not be such a good idea. Then I have a keyboard here for playing software instruments. Usually in Logic, sometimes in other programs. And then down here we have a keyboard which has some shortcuts for Logic Pro written on it, but it's mainly just a nice keyboard. And then I'm using a trackball as well as the trackpad. So this I use with my right hand, this I use with my left hand. And I actually find it very convenient having two hands for steering the mouse on the screen, because that allows me to do some things in a slightly easier way. This thing here is the remote control for my audio interface. This sets the volume and then I can access some presets with that as well. An audio interface, just in case you're not familiar with the terminology, is the device that turns sound into computer data and the other way around. This basically means I can use a microphone to get information into this machine and the audio interface also converts the data that comes from the computer into sound so that they can go out through the monitors. So this is where I spend most of my days. Here on the side, I already pointed to it, there is a bit of outboard gear, a few mic preamps, equalizers, compressors, things like that. This here is a very nice module. This emulates a tape machine, so you get a bit of distortion and saturation, and you get a bit more of an analog sound. So this is quite nice. And I also have a very special place for my Beethoven bust, which you have to have as a self-respecting musician, in my view anyway. Just as much as you need this thing here, which is a circle of fifth, because I'm usually way too lazy to think about which signs go with which key. On the other side, more outboard gear. These switches here switch on certain parts of the studio. So these are this is for the monitor, this is for my subwoofer, this is for the door controllers. So these faders up here. This one here is for that outboard gear there. And this one here is for all the synth stuff in the back. Then we have a few more components. This is the audio interface. So this is the machine that converts sound into data and vice versa. And then a few more components. This is the patch bay where I can connect the different modules that I have as outboard gear to each other. This controls the lighting in this room. And this is the power supply. So that's that. As you can imagine, I could talk a long time about each of these components, but I don't think that's of much interest to you, so I'll just leave it at that. Oh yeah, and headphones, always very useful if you're in a domestic setting and are not allowed to make noise around the clock. So highly recommended. To the left of here, we have my electric bass, very nice instrument. I'm not playing a lot these days anymore, but it still comes in very handy from time to time. This is my didgeridoo. Let me just unpack this. Right. Really nice. Here we have lights for YouTube, because it actually makes quite a difference to have good lighting and to be able to control the lighting for making YouTube videos. There's a second one here. And I hope you appreciate the extra effort that I'm making with that. Note stand, shakuhachi notation. This thing here is a balance pad where I like to stand when I practice. Also note, nice mnemonics. Sometimes after blowing for a few hours, I don't know which side is which. This is a really nice, comfortable position to be on while practicing, because in addition to sitting a lot, I'm also standing a lot when practicing shakuhachi. So this is good for my back, as I found out. Here we have a diffuser, which I still need to find a good spot for. This is part of my Eurorack synthesizer, just a skiff, nice and portable. It also has some MIDI inputs, so you can actually convert MIDI data into CV and gate information. Very handy. This is the rest of my Eurorack synthesizer. Maybe one day, if you are really interested, I'll go through the components and why I have them in there and what I use them for, and so on and so on. But this is not the video for that. This is a Korg Monologue, a very nice monophonic synthesizer. This is a mixer I'm using to submix all my synthesizers, and then via these cables this goes to the audio interface and then to the monitors or into the computer. But it's actually very handy because all this stuff here is on this side of the room, and the audio interface is over here. And if I don't want to trip over cables constantly, it's very handy to just do a submix here and then via these cables just lead them to the audio interface. This actually is also a synthesizer, a drum synthesizer. And over here we have the Electron Octatrack, very nice sampler and performance module, keyboard, and a Turia Beatstab to play together with the Eurorack synthesizer. Here, two more modules for the synthesizer and more electronic stuff, because you can't really have enough devices. But these are ones that I'm not currently using, but they're at hand. Then over here there is a rack with some notation and stuff, hard drives that you need, cables you need for the synthesizer, and so on and so on. My shakuhachi and my shinobue. More storage up here, more stuff, more cables, more notation. And here, very important, constant inspiration, Schopenhauer collection, Aristotle, Aldous Huxley, Dante. What else do you need? Then over here, this is the storage area. Some more flutes, who shakuhachi bell, very nice flutes. I still need to make a video for that, which I promised John a long time ago. Then here we have just storage, things I don't usually need, gaffer tape, as any self-respecting musician needs, label maker, all the stuff that you need, soldering equipment, more cables, yay. Then on this side, this is my box with percussion instruments, an eclectic collection. Then some more stuff, mostly for video production. Some controllers in here. This, my mini mic locker, well, just a mic drawer. But these are the microphones that I have. Video equipment, it still all fits into one bag, so it's not really that much, so far at least. Flutes, electric guitar, my old violin, which I'm not playing at the moment, unfortunately. Who has the time? It would be nice to have some time to get back into it. More cables. And up here we have the drums, the Taiko 1, which I already used for a few videos, and a drum that I was gifted, which I don't really know what it is, unfortunately. I don't know which type of drum it is. It has quite a nice sound, but if you can identify this type of drum, please let me know. Please leave me a comment. I'm really curious. I'm not really sure where it comes from or what the intended way to play it is, but from the way the heads are worn down, I'm assuming that it's being played with sticks, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, nice drum. More cables, yes, and my personal hygiene station. Musica sana in corpore sano, as we learned in Latin. Well, we didn't really, but I'm fond of stupid jokes, as you know. So that's mostly it. As you can see, there are quite a few elements in here for improving room acoustics. So this is really just rock wool, as you can see down here. This is really just plain rock wool. This element here in this corner, this bass trap, that's a bit nicer as well. I still need to find some time to do more on that. For example, use the space behind here to put more damping material in. And ideally also do a ceiling sail somewhere here, which is above the position where I'm sitting. That's probably one of the next projects that I'll do as soon as I find the time. The final element, as I already hinted at, so this is a DMX controller. So this is what you find in theaters and music venues as well. So I can choose the lights that I have here on the side, and then I can set the color. This is now just currently running on a preset, and I have some stage lights here just because I like it. Some here, here, and then these days some LED strips, which make a very nice addition for a working space. In particular, I find it very useful for the synthesizer setup here, because it has always been quite difficult seeing all the settings. So for Eurorack, as you can see, these knobs are actually quite small, and then to see where they're exactly pointing and the numbers, what to say, and so on and so on. It's actually very helpful to have good lighting there, so that's definitely an improvement when I made that. An LED strip is also pointing to the ceiling to give a bit of ambient light. And what I personally like very much is having this backlighting here, because this way it's not quite so tiring looking at the computer monitor for a long time. So this is really all I have to say about my studio. It's my happy place, if you like, because I just made it so that it suits my needs. It's not meant to be a proper professional recording studio of any kind. It's just a working environment for me. Maybe there was a useful idea in here if you want to build your own studio, but to be honest, you don't really need all this stuff. I found that basically what I'm using 90% of the time is my computer and keyboard for producing music, and of course for making the videos, but otherwise I'm really mostly playing my shakuhachi. So that's not something that you need a big studio for, but it's very nice to have it anyway. So I hope you found this not too self-indulgent. There were actually quite a lot of comments and questions on the YouTube videos, so I hope I answered some of those questions. If you have any more, leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.